Mark Clemens, CSO of HepatoSys, Inc. HepatoSys is an early-stage company that is developing products to increase both the number and quality of organs for transplantation. There's potentially over 200,000 patients per year in the United States alone who could benefit from organ transplantation who don't receive them because there are no organs available. HepatoSys has two lead products to address this problem. Our first product is a device for viability assessment of the organ prior to transplantation so that we can avoid transplanting bad organs or worse, discarding good organs. We project that this can be on the market by 2010. Our second product is a perfusion solution for the restoration of function to organs from cardiac death donors. And these cardiac death donors represent a potentially huge increase in the potential donor pool for organ transplantation. And we believe that we can have this in early clinical trials in about 2 years. So our combined market of these two products is potentially over $300 million annually, annual sales, with a potential doubling of that with the expansion of the donor pool. There is no product on the market to address these problems. Our company is a solid one with over 40 years of scientific experience, a competent management team, and a demonstrated ability to be self-sustaining as evidenced by over $2 million in grant funding to the company. We're now ready to accelerate our pace, and we're looking for a partner in order to achieve 510(k) approval for the device and initiate the clinical trials. We need about $2 million, and I'm looking forward to talking to you further about the details of our company. Thank you.
Good job. Quick question. You said $300 million market, I believe.
Right.
And that was for the first product?
No, so that's for the combined of the two products. So we want to be to market early with the viability assessment, and we estimate that at about that was about 120 million, and the rest would be from the selling of the devices and the solutions.
Okay, and $2 million is just to get the first stage. How much total funding are you looking for to get to both products on market? And then who are the competitors out there that in this potentially highly competitive space? Okay,
so let me talk about the competitors and then what the total amount that we need is. So competitors in the two areas, there are companies that make solutions. For instance, Transmedics has a system. Their organ recovery systems produces solutions. The difference is that nobody else is focused on the cardiac death donors. This is where we can really expand the market. They do preservation, we do restoration of function. On the device, there are a couple of patents for sensors to try to estimate what we're doing. Neither of those are being commercialized, and they both have fundamental technical problems that we think will be a barrier to commercialization. As far as what we need to actually get to market, we think we can have the prototype built and ready for early marketing of the device for about $700,000. The rest would be to get us to the initiation of clinical trials to the total of $2 million for initiating clinical trials for the solutions. After that, the transition through clinical trials will be more than that.
Mark, I understand that the two products will be used somewhat in conjunction with each other, but are they interdependent upon the commercialization of the other?
This is the beauty of the system, is that they can each stand alone, and together they're synergistic. So our reason for pushing the viability device now is that there's already a push to preserve organs by perfusion, and in particular in kidneys. And so this device could be used with any other technology that uses perfusion preservation to be able to make the decision prior to starting the transplant operation. Do we use the organ or do we not? We will show you why it is in your best interest to partner with HepatoSys. First of all, realizing that I'm coming to you, this is not about us, this is about you. How can we be valuable to you? Medtronic has already established itself as a leader in many areas of medical devices. One area that is conspicuously absent is that you are not present in the transplantation space. This is where HepatoSys' mission can serve the needs of Medtronic. Our mission is to improve patient outcomes by expanding availability of viable organs for transplantation through innovative bioengineering technology. And as I'll show you, we will have technology to improve the quality of organs, increase the number available, and also to assess the viability of organs prior to transplant to increase outcomes. The problem. Quite simply put, patients in need of transplants far outnumber the donor organs available. And if you look at these graphs, very simply summarized, the dark blue are the transplants actually performed for kidney and liver in total in 2008. The light blue are the patients on a waiting list. The red are patients who could benefit, the total number who could benefit from transplantations. If you compare the dark blue with the red, you see that there is a huge unmet need, which we call a market. There are potentially 200,000 patients per year who could benefit, but for whom there's no organ available. So how are we going to solve this? Well, our approach looks at where do the potential donors come from. To your left, you see the current source, which is brain death donors. This is what's typically used for transplants. On the other side, there are many, many more people who die of cardiac death. Typically, though, those organs are discarded because following cardiac death, cessation of blood flow, the organs are damaged. Well, if we can restore function to those, we have the possibility of using them for transplant. But if there's a high probability of failure, they will still be discarded. So what we also need to be able to do is to tell which organs are going to survive and which are going to fail. So this leads to our two lead products. The first is a device for viability assessment. And as you can see on the left of your panel, after cardiac death, if we can improve function so that we can still get 75% of them that succeed, none will be used because 25% failure is considered unacceptable. Our approach is to exploit the inherent fluorescence characteristics of the tissue to be able to assess the viability. And I just show you, this is what a healthy tissue looks like. This is what a compromised tissue looks like. There is inherent fluorescence, which becomes patchy and bright in a compromised tissue. We have designed a device to be able to monitor in multiple sites to account for the heterogeneity, and through a multi-site system image analysis algorithm, we can predict with a high degree of certainty whether the organ will be viable.
Excuse me, Mark. What specifically are you measuring there? Is this a metabolic profile?
Yeah, so this
is it a vascularization? This
is pyridine nucleotide fluorescence, NAD, NADH. A metabolically intact tissue is able to keep the redox potential very low, and the oxidized form of this is not fluorescent, whereas the reduced form is highly fluorescent. So a high fluorescent indicates the inability to maintain an oxidized state of the tissue.
What is your window of opportunity with transplantation there? Do you have 6 hours, 1 hour, 20 minutes?
Okay, so currently 30 minutes is considered unacceptable for most tissues, we believe that we can push it to at least an hour following cardiac death.
So double that, and I expect you would, of course, have to have the organ removed from the body to monitor it, looks like. Or
Right.
at least accessible. And do you have to perfuse it to see if it will be viable, or do you test it and then perfuse it, or perfuse it and test at the same time?
This will fit in with our second technology, which is the perfusion preservation solution, and the product will be a substitute for the current preservation by simple cold storage, so that this will be an integrated system.
So in your restoration hypothesis that by perfusing it with this solution, you can preserve it and also restore some function that wasn't there, or that might not be there after an hour or 45 minutes?
That's correct. And we have preclinical data to show that, which I'll show you very shortly, which substantiates that. Very quickly, to look at our business model for this, we have two components. One is the base unit, the analytical box. But the real revenue generator are the recyclable probes. And these are too expensive to throw away, but since Netflix can send things back and forth quickly, we will use their model of refurbishing and sending them back with about a $1,500 per profit, giving us a revenue of about $117 million per year. We can build the prototype quickly, and because this never touches a live patient, there's a very low risk, and we can get 510K filing fairly readily. The second is the recovery system, and we've already talked a bit about it. I just show you the results at the bottom. On the far left bar shows you what happens if you transplant a normal liver, and the two right bars, the one that is not there is 0% survival after 30 minutes cardiac death with the current state-of-the-art, and with our technology we can get 85% survival. The revenue stream here is from the solutions, giving us a net sales of about $125 million per year. The time to market will depend upon optimizing the components and initiating clinical trials in about 2 years. So if we look at the total net value of the technology is about almost $250 million. The competition, there are several solutions out there, but none of these are designed for restoring function, only for preserving function that is intact. The viability assessment, as I mentioned, there are a couple of technologies patented, but no evidence of commercialization, and there are theoretical reasons, such as use of invasive probes and single-site monitoring, that suggest that these will not be commercially viable. HepatoSys, the company, our founders, myself and Charles Lee, have over 40 years of experience and together $10 million in research funding. The company is self-sustaining with over $2 million in small business grant revenues, and we have a very competent management team, Elizabeth Meisher Clemens and Kristen Rogentin Lee, also here for the day-to-day management, and we've contracted with Taffy Williams for as a business development consultant. So moving forward, the milestones are to bring viability assessment to market and initiate clinical trials for the HMP solution. Our needs to get to those milestones are approximately $2 million. So why is this an ideal partnership for Medtronic? As I said, this is about you, not about us. Although we want it to be about us also.
Okay. Mark, you had indicated that, and accurately so, that this represents a new business sector for us. What do you bring to the table in terms of ties into the organ procurement community that is not a network that we've established yet?
Yeah. We've been partnering with a transplant surgeon for several years. He's formerly the director of the transplant research labs at University of Louisville, a fine institution.
Lot of brain dead people there.
Good source of no. And he is running a subcontract for us in our scale-up under an SBIR Phase 2 grant, remains as a consultant, and he is part of the UNOS network and has already started to hook us into institutions to begin the clinical trials. So, you know, as I say here, we can provide you through this network a rapid entry into this growing transplant market. Our IP can provide an integrated system for improving quality and number of donors. And finally, in designing this, we've designed a business model so that we have a continuous revenue for each transplant based upon consumables rather than just selling a device and waiting for it to break down to be able to sell another one.
Dr. Clemens, let me ask one thing about the market size again. The cardiac death folks aren't typically good organ donors, candidates. Have you considered the comorbid conditions with most cardiac deaths as in reducing the size of that market a bit?
Absolutely. But you know, if you look at the total number of organ transplants in 2008 was about 25,000. There were 2.4 million deaths in the United States. Now, many of those are not going to be suitable donors. However, even a very, very small capture of that total market of cardiac death could substantially address the unmet need of organ failures. Why are cardiac death donors not used now? Partly because they don't have the technology for restoring the function. If you try to get data for how many potential cardiac death donors there are, it's very difficult because the concept of keeping track of this is not there, because you don't keep track of things that you don't think you're ever going to be able to use. So by setting up a program in emergency rooms and intensive care units where we have the easy part of the transplant team, which is the harvesting team there, to as quickly as possible harvest these organs, do the cold flush, and put them on the preservation solution to restore their function. Plus, even if we can get 50% of those that are successful with our viability assessment, we know which of those 50% to use. So that essentially can become 90% success rate, and that allows us to penetrate even deeper into the duration after cardiac death.